The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was probably one of my most highly anticipated games of recent memory. After the sheer misery that was Skyward Sword, it seemed like The Legend of Zelda was becoming incredibly stagnant. The 3D Zelda games were becoming more predictable as time went on, with each game being solely defined by one or two gimmicks. Besides Majora's Mask, each game featured an incredibly similar structure that anyone could predict coming a mile away. Link starts his journey, you go to 3 dungeons in order to collect 3 things, you get some story plot twists that will usually involve Link getting the Master Sword, the objective then changes, Link goes to more dungeons, and then Link defeats Ganondorf. Along the way, you'll get the bow, the hook shot, some bombs, a slingshot, the boomerang, some bottles, the iron boots, yada yada yada. We've all done this shit before. There's also a bunch of dungeons revolving around the similar repeated themes. There's a forest dungeon, a fire lava dungeon, a water dungeon, a sand dungeon, a spooky dungeon, an ice dungeon, a wind sky dungeon, and usually one completely unique dungeon that does something new. But not really. You go halfway through the dungeon and get the item, you use the item to complete the second half, you use the item to defeat the boss, and then you collect one of the 3 story-related things. To put it simply, the 3D Zelda games were fucking played out. So as a longtime fan of the series, Breath of the Wild looked like it was going to be the giant leap in progress that The Legend of Zelda desperately needed. Well, to my surprise, not only was Breath of the Wild a return to form, it was also one of the best games I've ever played. Period. It added in tons of new features, it has one of the best overworlds of any game I've played, and it brought back the freedom and exploration that the earlier Zelda games were known for. It's the fucking hypest shit! The game starts with Link being awoken by a mysterious voice who is obviously Princess Zelda. Right after waking up, you're given the Sheikah Slate, a pair of shitty clothes, and you're immediately thrown outside within a matter of seconds. After getting a beautiful view of the world, Link meets an old man who informs him on where they are. Apparently, Link has awoken at the Great Plateau, and the Kingdom of Hyrule has been in decline for around 100 years or so. Then Link activates this random pedestal, these fucking towers rise up all throughout Hyrule, then Zelda's like, you've been asleep for the past 100 years. Also, you gotta kill this crazy demon shit, or else we're gonna fucking die! We're all gonna fucking die! And it's like, man, I got 3 apples and a stick. This is fucking ridiculous. Then you get off the tower and run into the old man again. Then he's just like, you trying to go to that castle and kill that crazy demonic shit with the fucking stick? Well, you can't even get off this plateau without falling to your death. But don't worry, I'll trade you this paraglider for whatever treasure you can find in that shrine over there. So then you go into this shrine and it's like, I'm Uman Ao, in the name of the goddess Hylia, I've all for this trial. Then you get the crazy magnet powers for your Sheikah Slates, the fucking hypest shit. And then you meet the old ass monk at the end of the shrine and then he gives you a spirit orb. Then Link meets up with the old man again, but then he's like, you got the spirit orb, good job. Now, go to 3 more shrines and get 3 more. And it's like, what the fuck? That wasn't the deal. Give me the paraglider. Then he's like, whatever, I changed my mind. Then Link's like, man, fuck you. So now Link goes to 3 other shrines and gets some more runes for a Sheikah Slate. You get remote detonated bombs, you get a stasis rune that stops objects in time and stores kinetic energy, and you get a cryonis rune that creates ice blocks on water, which you will instantly forget about and never use again. After you go to all 4 shrines, you meet up with the old man at the top of the Temple of Time, who reveals that he's actually the spirit of the last king of Hyrule. Then he just drops exposition just like, okay, so basically Calamity Ganon is a fucking asshole, right? And according to some prophecy, he was going to come back and fuck hella shit up. So we found these giant robots underground that we could use to kill him, and we had to seal Ganon away with some random sacred power or some shit. But then Calamity Ganon took control over all the robots and killed everyone except you and Princess Zelda. Now, you almost died, right? So we took you to the Shrine of Resurrection and you've been restored 100 years later. And Zelda's still restraining Calamity Ganon, but her power is going to eventually stop working. So you gotta kill Calamity Ganon before shit gets super fucked. Normally, you'd have to get some 3 random crystals or find some other nonsense, but clearly this prophecy shit doesn't fucking work. So you gotta kill him with whatever shit you can find. I don't know. Here's your paraglider. Get the fuck off this plateau. Go to Kakariko Village. It's over there somewhere. They can help you. Maybe. Just Figure it out. Basically, the end goal of the game is to stop Calamity Ganon, and the rest of the story is spent preparing yourself to eventually storm Hyrule Castle. Once you get off the Great Plateau, this is the true start of the game, and you can pretty much do anything you want. You can even run straight towards Hyrule Castle and attempt to defeat Calamity Ganon if you really wanted to. So, for the sake of clarity, we're just going to stick to the main story. So let's just take the king's advice and go to Kakariko Village. Anyways, it's pretty far on foot, so the fastest method is to just kidnap a random horse. Normally, you'd have to do some extremely long side quests to get Epona, but fuck that, we don't need her. You just jump on whatever horse you want, you tell them to calm the fuck down, they still kinda act like an asshole, you take them to a stable, you name it, put a saddle on that shit, we're done, that's it. Still, if you're some kind of Melvin who wasted all your money, you can use some of your piece of shit overpriced amiibo and unlock Epona that way, along with a bunch of trivial shit that will somehow justify your unhealthy obsession with Nintendo. But listen, don't worry. You know, you might be failing to impress that really cute half-Asian girl with your $500 amiibo collection, but now you can use your Ganondorf amiibo to get the incredibly small chance to possibly use a digital sword that will break in 5 minutes. Wow, that's a great deal. Anyways, Link eventually gets to Kakariko Village and he talks to Impa. She's been waiting for Link to show up for 100 years, and she basically explains that 10,000 years ago, Hyrule was this advanced civilization that used its technology to create a bunch of crazy robots, mainly the 4 divine beasts and a bunch of autonomous robots called Guardians. So when Ganon finally showed up, they basically kicked his ass, the princess used her magic, and a warrior sealed away the darkness with his sword. So according to the prophecy, Impa wants Link to take back control of the 4 divine beasts by locating the leaders of the 4 races scattered across Hyrule. She also tells Link that his Sheikah Slate is not fully functioning yet, and that he should go to the research lab in Hateno Village to get it fixed. Hateno Village is pretty close, and it's a lot easier than traveling across the entire fucking world, so it seems like the more logical place to go next. So now Link goes to the Ancient Tech Lab and he gets his Sheikah Slate fixed, which unlocks the Camera Rune and the Hyrule Compendium. More importantly, Link can use the old pictures in his Sheikah Slate to help restore his lost memory. By tracking down these in-game locations, you'll be able to view a short cutscene of the events that took place 100 years ago. This is essentially 2 of your largest goals in the entire game. You have to travel across Hyrule and free the divine beasts, while also tracking down these locations and learning about what happened 100 years ago. At this part of the game, Link can travel to any of the 4 divine beasts and free them in any order, but the closest point on the Sheikah Slate is just slightly north of Kakariko Village, so that seems like the logical place to go first. Traveling towards this area leads Link to a group of Zoras who are looking for a Hylian warrior. They eventually lead Link towards Prince Sidon, who's basically this giant sexy Zora, and he tells Link that Zora's domain is in grave danger because the divine beast Vah Ruta is causing massive rainfall. So now you basically follow this path up to Zora's domain while you're fighting a shit ton of enemies, and Prince Sidon keeps popping up for emotional support. He's just like, "You're almost there, but I believe in you, you can do it," and then he just swims off. It's like, I fucking love this guy. Man, I'd fucking suck his dolphin dick super hard, fucking smooth his eggs, I don't even care. Link eventually gets to Zora's domain, and apparently the Zoras actually remember who Link is, because in this game they apparently age at a much slower rate than Hylians for some reason. Anyways, Link eventually meets up with Prince Sidon and the Zora King in order to figure out how to deal with the divine beast. But then this Muzu guy is being a fucking racist because he doesn't trust Hylians, and basically all that matters is that everyone's going to fucking die because the divine beast is going to overflow the reservoir and drown all of Hyrule aka Wind Waker style. The king gives Link some Zora armor, that Muzu guy gets fucking pissed cause he's fucking racist, so now Link has to convince this old ass man to stop being a fucking racist asshole. Now, normally, you usually just wait for these kinds of people to just fucking die of old age. But since Zoras live for hundreds of years, that's not an option. Basically, Muzu is really pissed because he really liked the Zora champion Mipha, and since she died to the great Calamity, he's blaming the Hylians for her death. Then Prince Sidon tells him that Mipha actually deeply loved Link, and then Link looks at Mipha's statue and recovers some of his old memories. You then get a short cutscene about Mipha, and it basically just shows how she's a sweetheart and that she really cares about Link. I really like Mipha in this game. She really reminds me of Princess Ruto from Ocarina of Time if she was actually a good character. I kind of hate Princess Ruto, mostly because she acts like an entitled bitch up until saving her, and then she turns out to be somewhat rapey and weird. It's like you run into her in the water temple, and it's just like, I gave you the Zora Sapphire, which means we're gonna get married someday. I love you, my fiance. It's like, bitch, I was just trying to open this fucking door. I don't give a fuck. Mipha's much better because she's actually a really nice and genuine character. Everyone in Zora's domain loves her, she comes off as a really caring person, and Mipha actually crafted Link's Zora armor because she truly loved him and wanted to get married someday. It also helps that Link actually liked Mipha instead of being constantly bombarded with rape. Anyways, since the Zora armor fits Link perfectly, that convinces Muzu that Mipha actually loved Link because it's like fucking Cinderella or some shit. So now Muzu isn't being racist anymore, and he tells Link that in order to stop the Divine Beast, he has to collect 20 shock arrows from a scary ass Lionel on the mountain. So now Link goes up to the mountain, and the Lionel is just shooting shock arrows all over the fucking place and just beating your fucking ass, and it's like, that racist fuck set me up! This is bullshit! One way or another, you end up collecting 20 shock arrows, and Link meets up with Prince Sidon near the Divine Beast. They both team up and attack Vah Ruta in order to stop the rainfall, and after using a couple of shock arrows against the Divine Beast, Link can finally board it and attempt to take it over. The Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild sort of act like the dungeons in the previous games, but they work in a slightly different way. This time around, the goal of the dungeon is to activate 5 terminals located all throughout the Divine Beasts. You have to use your runes to solve a variety of puzzles, while also manipulating the Divine Beast to gain access to certain areas. After activating all 5 terminals, you then have to fight Blight Ganon, which is basically just a weird calamity monster. In the previous games, you normally have to use a very specific item that you'd obtain during the dungeon to hit the boss in a very specific way, but this time, the boss fights are actually pretty intuitive. For the most part, you just evade attacks at the proper time and get some hits in whenever it's possible, which I enjoy much more. You eventually beat Blight Ganon, you get a heart container, Link talks to the spirit of Mipha, and she gives Link a magical power known as Mipha's Grace. More importantly, Calamity Ganon is no longer in control of Vah Ruta, which means that the spirit of Mipha can now use the Divine Beast to help Link. The Zora King thanks Link for saving them, Muzu isn't a fucking racist anymore, and as a reward, the Zoras give Link a special weapon that Mipha cherished greatly as a token of friendship. And now it's broken. So, like I said before, you can go to the next 3 places in any order, and the closest place next is around Death Mountain. The major challenge climbing up to Death Mountain is that it's fucking hot! So you have to get some form of heat resistance. So you get some fire elixirs or some shit, you climb all the way up Death Mountain, and Link eventually gets to Goron City. The Divine Beast is just walking around on top of Death Mountain, shooting a bunch of rocks at people, and basically just being a fucking asshole. So Link has to talk to the Goron boss to get some assistance. Normally, they just use cannons to make it stop, but the only issue is that Yunobo went out to get some painkillers and hasn't come back yet. So now Link has to go find him. So then you eventually find him, and he's just like, whoa, these Fortnite memes are epic! It's just like, what the fuck? And then you go back to the Goron boss, and then Link regains some of his memories of the Goron champion Daruk. Basically, all that matters is that Yunobo is a descendant of Daruk because he inherited Daruk's protective powers. Daruk's pretty cool, I guess. I don't know, I don't want to fuck him, that's for sure. Anyways, now Link has to basically launch Yunobo out of cannons in order to get onto the Divine Beast. Vah Rudania starts shooting out these sentries that will launch magma bombs or some shit, so you have to take out the sentries while escorting Yunobo up the mountain. You're just shooting Yunobo out of cannons and shit, and he's just like, whoa, this is just like Roblox! And it's just like, Nintendo, this is fucking ridiculous! And then you eventually beat the shit out of the Divine Beast, and Link gets on board. The boss for this Divine Beast is Blight Ganon, and it's once again a pretty standard fight with the weird Calamity monster. So Link kills it, you get a heart container, and then Link talks to the spirit of Daruk and is given Daruk's protection. Now that Link has taken back control of the Divine Beast, the spirit of Daruk can now help Link in the fight against Calamity Ganon. There's 2 more Divine Beasts left, but there's also a hidden main quest that revolves around Link getting the Master Sword. You can randomly come across the Master Sword at any point in the game, but there's a point where players will eventually be drawn to go seek it out. As Link frees the Divine Beasts, you'll usually be told about the existence of the Master Sword and some hints on where to find it. But more importantly, most players are drawn to the Lost Woods because they'll want to find Hetsu and upgrade their inventory space. So, for whatever reason, you sort of get this amazing moment where you randomly travel to the Lost Woods, you figure out a way to navigate the forest, and then the Master Sword is just sitting right there! That's the fucking hype as shit! Here's the thing though, you can't just pick it up and get it. No! You have to be strong enough to pull it from the pedestal by having enough heart containers. So it becomes this elaborate process where you go to shrines to increase your maximum health, and you keep going back to the Lost Woods to try to finally pull the sword out. And then after a while, you're finally strong enough to get it. It's fucking amazing! The Master Sword also serves a really useful function in this game, because it's a really powerful sword that does massive damage to enemies infested with the Calamity. It's the most interesting use of the Master Sword in any Zelda game ever. The next Divine Beast I decided to go to next was in the southwest direction, which leads to the Gerudo Desert. Similar to Death Mountain, the Gerudo Desert is fucking hot! Except it's not like Death Mountain where it's fucking hot! It's like, it's kinda hot. Except if it's nighttime, then it's fucking cold! So you eventually make your way across the desert, but Link can't gain access to Gerudo Town, since men aren't allowed inside. You see, this time around, the Gerudos in Breath of the Wild have been much more fleshed out, unlike in Ocarina of Time, where it didn't really make any sense. In Ocarina of Time, the Gerudo were this race entirely made up of females, except every 100 years, where only one male is born. This led to a lot of weird assumptions. You either have this situation where the one Gerudo male would just fuck the shit out of every Gerudo female ever, thus creating this weird race revolving around mass incest, or you have this situation where the Gerudos would just go out and have interracial sex with Hylian males in order to give birth to 100% pure-blooded Gerudo women, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyways, it was never really explained that well in the previous games, because it ultimately results in talking about sex. And obviously, Nintendo won't talk about the intricacies of the Gerudo women fucking the Hylian men and the implications of their offspring. Well, the cool thing about Breath of the Wild is that it actually explains some of this nonsense and makes it a bit more reasonable. Basically, the Gerudo tribe is entirely made up of women, besides the off chance where one male is born every 100 years like they're the fucking Dalai Lama or some shit. For the most part, the Gerudo women all grow up separated from men their entire lives. They grow up and learn how to seduce Hylian men and are inevitably pressured to leave the village and mate with a Hylian in order to give birth to more Gerudo women. After that happens, the female Gerudo baby is basically brought back to the village, and the process gets repeated over and over again in order for the Gerudo race to survive. This time around, the Gerudo women are basically like the Amazons, where almost every Gerudo is super tall, buff, curvaceous, and sexy as fuck. While this does make a bit more sense, the implication of the Gerudo's existence does make things really complicated in terms of how the other races in the game can interact with each other. I mean, Mipha was planning on marrying Link, so how the fuck does that shit work? If Link and Mipha had babies, would they be some sort of half Zora, half Hylian hybrid? How the fuck would sex work? Would Mipha have to lay her Zora eggs and then Link would just have to like walk up and bust a nut on the eggs? Would he learn a new Ocarina song? Nintendo, I need answers, come on! Anyways, All that matters is that the Gerudos are a race entirely made up of sexy, buff women, and everyone wants to get into Gerudo Town so they can fuck them, including me. Link then talks to the Gerudo leader, Riju, and he tells her that he wants to calm the divine beast Naboris. But first, he has to get the Thunder Helm that was stolen by the Yiga clan. So now Link goes to the Yiga clan hideout, and he gotta sneak through the hideout by using bananas, because the Yiga clan loves bananas. So you throw the bananas to be at the guards because they make monkey noises while they grab the bananas for some fucking reason. Like, they see the fucking bananas and they're like, oh, banana, ooh, 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 ooh. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Then you eventually fight Master Koga, who's the leader of the clan, and it's just the dumbest boss fight in the entire game, because you just use his own projectiles against him, and then he just kills himself and falls down a pit, probably full of bananas. Anyways, you get the Thunder Helm, you return it to Riju, and then Link regains some of his memory of the Gerudo champion Urbosa. Urbosa is probably the best character in any Zelda game ever. She sort of acts like a mother figure to Zelda in this game. She's super cool, she's strong, she's got lightning powers, and she's sexy as fuck. Look at those muscles! You're not in control. Listen, if you're about to get fucked by Urbosa, you better have Daruk's protection, because she's about to beat your dick into submission, or else you're gonna have to put your dick in the Shrine of Resurrection, because that shit's never coming back. Urbosa's the best waifu in the game. Don't even argue with me. Anyways, now Link and Riju grab some sand seals and take out the divine beast so Link can get inside. The boss for this divine beast is Blight Ganon, who is arguably the hardest boss in the entire game. So Link kills the boss, you get a heart container, and then Link talks to the spirit of Urbosa and is given Urbosa's fury. Now that Link has taken control of the divine beast, the spirit of Urbosa can use Naboris to help Link in the final fight against Calamity Ganon. The last divine beast is located at Rito Village, and this part of the game cuts out all the bullshit. You just talk to the village leader, you walk right over to the next room and regain some of Link's memory. You get a cutscene where the Rito champion Rivali is basically just talking hellish shit. You go to a nearby flight range and talk to Teba, but now Link has to prove that he's good enough to fight the divine beast. So now Link just flies around and hits 5 wooden targets in like 10 seconds, and apparently that's good enough. Link gets help from Teba and flies up to Va Meadow. You take out some of the turrets to knock out its shields, and the divine beast itself is pretty simple. You fight Blight Ganon by using the updrafts, you kill it, heart container, talk to the spirit of Rivali, get his magic spell, and the spirit of Rivali takes control over the divine beast. It's basically the same exact thing again. Now that you have all 4 divine beasts at your disposal, the only thing left to do is find the remaining locations that will recover Link's memories. Obviously, there really isn't any in-game benefit to doing this. Once you've taken control over the 4 divine beasts, you can go straight to Calamity Ganon and blow him up to smithereens, but most players will want to fully recover Link's memories, since it will allow them to piece together what happened 100 years ago. I've noticed that some people seem to be disappointed by the lack of story in Breath of the Wild, but honestly, I think it's pretty compelling in the way it was told. Similar to Link, every player starts Breath of the Wild with zero knowledge of what's going on, so in a way, recovering Link's memories is a perfect way to learn about the events that led to the destruction of Hyrule. More importantly, these bite-sized chunks of past memories really flesh out Princess Zelda and the other champions. This is probably the only time since Ocarina of Time where I actually cared about Princess Zelda, and I think that mostly comes down to the fact that she's a character you can actually relate to. The best thing about Breath of the Wild is that it takes the Destiny nonsense from Skyward Sword and turns it on its head. According to legend, Zelda is supposed to possess this sacred power that would be able to seal Calamity Ganon away. She's told time and time again that it's her destiny to possess this sacred power, but she has no spiritual connection to any of these legends of old. There's this immense pressure placed on her to fulfill her role in the prophecy, but her prayers accomplish nothing, and she constantly feels like a failure. Unlike the previous games where Zelda passively accepts her fate, Zelda in Breath of the Wild sees herself as a scholar. She spends a lot of her time researching about ancient technology and other things that fascinate her, but she's constantly burdened by this prophecy that she feels like she has no control over. In contrast, Link is everything that Zelda isn't. He was groomed to be a knight just like his father, but he's fully committed to fulfilling his role in the prophecy. He also proved his worth by essentially being chosen chosen by the Master Sword to be Zelda's appointed knight. This causes Zelda to feel incredibly insecure about her own role in the prophecy, and Link and Zelda actually don't get along. She starts off kind of acting like a bitch, they eventually start working things out, but then the prophecy fails completely. Zelda eventually awakens her sealing power at the last second, but then everyone ends up dying, and Link has to be brought to the Shrine of Resurrection. That's basically what happens before the start of the game. In just around 45 minutes of cutscenes, Breath of the Wild was able to make you feel more connected to Princess Zelda than any other game in the series. It might be the least story-intensive game thus far, but every small cutscene packs more emotional punch than any lengthy cutscene in Skyward Sword. Zelda also displays a wide range of emotions in this game. She gets angry, she bursts into tears, she gets excited about her research, and by the time that you recover Link's memories and beat the game, you feel way more connected to Zelda than you should. That's why she's the best Zelda in any Zelda game ever. Also, she's got a big, sexy ass! So after Link recovers all of his memories, Zelda tells Link that he's ready to finally fight Calamity Ganon. But oh shit, it's not even over! Because for the first time in any Zelda game ever, Nintendo has decided to release some main story DLC. That's right, The Legend of Zelda is no longer a bastion from the disgusting practices of the modern video game industry. Nintendo has finally decided to release its own batch of DLC, so it can nickel and dime all their customers with shit-tier cosmetics. Now, to be fair, the Trial of the Sword and the Champions Ballad are both pretty enjoyable DLC quests. However, some of the DLC just feels like a bunch of tacky shit you'd get from a code on a 7-Eleven Slurpee cup. I mean, what the fuck was up with the expansion pass bonus? Nintendo hyped that thing up as some amazing addition, but it's just 3 chests that hold 5 bomb arrows, a ruby, and a Nintendo Switch shirt. That's fucking it. You get 2 run-of-the-mill items and a retarded shirt that gives 1 armor point. Like, why even fucking bother? Well, at least it's not as bad as the free Xenoblade Chronicles 2 cross-promotional side quest. Why the fuck is this in a Zelda game? Can you imagine if any of this shit was in Ocarina of Time? Nintendo's just like, download the free cross-promotional Glover side quest. Complete the bouncy ball dungeon and unlock the Glover tunic. People would lose their fucking shit. Nintendo just places the bouncy ball dungeon behind Lon Lon Ranch or some shit. The game's exactly the same, but now it's just got this dated, trashy garbage just shoved in for no reason. That's basically what some of this DLC is. I mean, it doesn't outright ruin the game for me, but why even add in this DLC when it pretty much adds no value and makes the game worse? Anyways, the first main story DLC quest is the Trial of the Sword, and it's pretty straightforward. After Link pulls the Master Sword from the pedestal, he can now go into 3 different trials in order to power up the Master Sword. Each trial is an enemy gauntlet, where you have to go through a variety of challenges in all sorts of different rooms, and it's really fucking fun. It really highlights just how good the combat is in Breath of the Wild in comparison to the earlier 3D Zelda games. That's basically the Trial of the Sword, and it's just a really fun addition. The second DLC main story quest is the Champions Ballad, and this quest is a lot more in-depth. The whole quest revolves around a bunch of trials that will train Link to master his own divine beast. And the first part of the trial is to use this magic weapon to kill a bunch of monsters. But the catch is that it also sucks all of your health and makes you die in 1 hit. So now you're just running around and dying to a bunch of stupid shit, just getting instant game overs all over the fucking place. Like you'll be fighting this monster and it'll just lightly brush Link's leg and then Link will just flop over like a bag of shit and die, and it's just like, oh, this is fun. After you finally stop dying, the magic weapon then breaks off and spawns 4 different monuments located all throughout Hyrule. Each monument basically has some clues that will lead Link towards 3 different trials associated with the champions of old. So now Link goes to one of the monuments and Cass is just like, I'm writing a song called the Champions Ballad, and it's just like, Cass, I'm trying to do a fucking trial over here. What do you want? And Cass is just like, but each verse in the song represents a trial that each champion faced, and you will need to use the verses in the song, Cass. It's fine, I don't need your help. And then Cass is just like, Do you want to hear the song I'm writing? No, I don't. The monument has fucking GPS tracking. I think I got this. And then Cass is just like, reaching skyward from waters blue. And it's like, Cass, I don't fucking care. The monument tells me where to go, okay? So now you just race through some Sonic rings, or you fight a boss, or you fight some enemies, and it's all basically just a bunch of trivial shit. It's fucking boring as fuck. After you complete all 3 of the trials, you travel back to the Divine Beast, you do a repeated boss fight with a very specific set of gear, and then Link will recover a memory based off of the champion associated with the Divine Beast. The memories are nice to see, but at the same time, you don't really learn anything new. It seems like the only point of these cutscenes is so you can see each champion do something cool, and so you can see them do their fucking amiibo pose. That's right, more fucking amiibos. Get the Breath of the Wild champion amiibo, $15.99 each, alright? Nintendo needs to fucking cash this shit out. Nintendo needs that fucking money. Listen, when I finally impress that cute half Asian girl with my $700 amiibo collection, we're gonna watch all the anime, and I'm gonna propose to her with the Zora Sapphire because, I'm a gamer, I love Ready Player One, okay? And then guess what? Mario themed wedding. Oh my god! Get all 4 of the Breath of the Wild champion amiibo, $15.99 each, except, oh wait, it's actually all sold out and way more fucking expensive now, so I guess you're fucked. After Link obtains all 4 memories, you now have to go back to the Shrine of Resurrection and go into the final trial. This part of the quest leads Link to a brand new dungeon, which is actually really cool. After you go through it, Link then finds the monk who's been talking to him this whole time, and then you get taken up to this giant floating platform and you have the sickest boss fight in the entire fucking game. The monk just starts beating the shit out of you, fucking going nuts, making clones, and doing all this crazy shit. It's hype as fuck. So Link eventually beats the boss and completes the final trial. So now he's finally going to get his Divine Beast. The game hypes up this goddamn Divine Beast through this lengthy cutscene. The entire giant platform starts transforming and going nuts, and it looks like the platform is going to transform into a Divine Beast. But then you just get a fucking tiny ass motorcycle. Like, that's it? The other 4 champions got these giant ass robots that were the size of fucking mountains, but Link just gets this petite dick ass shit. The main quest treats this as an important thing to do, but how the fuck is a dumb motorcycle going to help Link defeat Calamity Ganon? You already have control over 4 giant ass divine beasts. Like, you think Link's little 2-wheeler is gonna make a difference? This is fucking ridiculous. Anyways, after Link gets his dumb motorcycle, Cass plays the Champions Ballad, and Link recovers his final memory. The cutscene shows the 5 champions getting sworn in to protect Hyrule, and after the ceremony, the champions decide to take a picture with the Sheikah Slate. Zelda then chimes in, and she's just like, Link, you've literally done every single thing possible. Can you just fucking go to Hyrule Castle already? Well, now that we got this useless, stupid ass motorcycle, we might as well try it out. So now Link goes to Hyrule Castle, and it's filled with all these guardians shooting explosive lasers going fucking nuts. Link eventually gets to the Sanctum, but now Zelda can no longer keep a hold on Calamity Ganon. But it doesn't even matter, cause Link's just like, yeah, Obama authorized the drone strike. Bah! The champions just fucking nuke the shit out of them with their fucking crazy laser shit. Everything's going fucking nuts. Ganon's fucking dead. It's over. Roll the fucking credits. But it only takes out half of his health bar. Well, fuck, I guess that was all a waste of time. After you finally get his health bar down, Ganon then escapes outside the castle and transforms into Dark Beast Ganon. Zelda then gives Link the Bow of Light. You're about to have the hypest boss fight in any Zelda game ever, but then Ganon kind of sits there and shoots lasers at nothing, and you just shoot arrows at him. You get the Bow of Light and you shoot arrows at him. Anyways, Link hits his final shot on Dark Beast Ganon, and that's the end of the game. game. Zelda then appears from within Ganon, she uses her sealing powers to banish Calamity Ganon for good, and then you finally complete your quest. You then get a cutscene after the credits, showing the spirits of the champions and the King of Hyrule looking upon Link and Zelda before disappearing for good. For completing all of Link's memories, you also get an additional cutscene with Link and Zelda, beginning their work to restore Hyrule. With their duties fulfilled, Zelda can now finally move on with her life. It's a pretty fitting ending to her story. Like I said earlier, Breath of the Wild is probably one of the best games I've ever played. It takes the freedom of open world sandboxes and creates interesting gameplay mechanics that amplify it to perfection. Hyrule is immaculately designed, the main quests can be completed in almost any order you wish, the physics engine allows players to solve puzzles in any manner they see fit, the combat has a surprising amount of depth, the climbing system is incredibly intuitive and allows players to circumvent any obstacles they want, and players can even skip the entire main story and fight Calamity Ganon right at the start of the game. Even a year after its release, I can't stop thinking about how good this game is. Breath of the Wild is the fucking hypest shit!